This is 20thLevelCommoners for Blue Rose. What's up, y'all?
Hey.
We're here with another Blue Rose, or with another RPG that is Blue Rose.
Yes.
Actually, this is the first. Last week we did the first RPG Cody had ever played or DM'd. This week we're gonna do the first RPG I ever DM'd. A system called Blue Rose. I picked it up used at Hastings 6 or 7 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
First system I ever owned. I just never got rid of it. So we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
So first off, this game is, well, how to start this. This game is what's called romantic fantasy as the tagline.
I'm still unsure exactly what they mean by that.
I don't either, and I've had the system for like 7 years. I don't. I guess it's like the utopian civil servant.
Yeah, this is probably more romantic, like not in the classical way we think of romance, but is in like high adventure, very like high-minded, very positive, very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Although there is certainly enough in there to where you can have like romantic stuff. Although I would never, ever recommend doing that in a game.
No, that sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, that sounds like something that would make everybody uncomfortable.
Very.
But also because this is a really pretty game. Like the artwork on this is gorgeous. It's like a Renaissance painter's interpretation of like Bishonen. That's pretty much what it looks like.
It's a very good description.
Yeah, maybe it's because I've been reading Rurouni Kenshin lately, but it kind of makes me think of like a Western version of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rurouni Kenshin's got a lot in common with, I guess, what they're trying to do, too. It
also has this romantic tagline in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Mihai era revolution love story.
Yeah.
Is what they called it. Yeah. Anyway. So this game's actually really simple. It's 1d20. That's the only dice you'll ever need. Mm-hmm. Combat is fast. It is brutal. And magic is very low powered. Something I think that kind of took our mage in the test session off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
Trevor was our mage, and he did some really cool things, but he basically stated he didn't really care for the magic because he couldn't really do anything.
Which is weird because he wound up kicking a lot of ass.
Yeah, he like ripped a crate off and like telekinetic threw it at a ghoul.
And then he like froze somebody's skull from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. Can't do much. Water shaping's useless. Sub-Zero guy.
Of course, compared to a D&D wizard.
Yeah, no, like you get your ass kicked, but that's...
Yeah, like a level 1 D&D wizard would annihilate a level 5, you know.
Blue Rose character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the least because a D&D wizard would have hit points.
Yeah. So going off of that, like I said, magic is low powered. It doesn't really, it kind of feels like Conan magic, where it's not really focused on being really big and flashy with fireballs and shit. Though you can technically do that. It's just really hard. Only like the highest level wizards can do it.
And it will drive you insane.
Eventually, yeah. Yeah, a lot of magic in this game. Well, we'll get that when we talk about lore, but talking about the mechanics a little more. The campaign, your characters don't have hit points. They have what's called a toughness save. The system uses the True 20 system, which is a system a lot of Green Ronin publishing systems use. I think a Song of Ice and Fire RPG uses a modified system of this.
Actually, I think the Song of Ice and Fire uses the 3d6.
3d6?
Uh-huh.
So, okay. But I know Mutants and Masterminds uses the system, at least the second edition. I don't know about the third.
I think during the 90s, like almost every property had a D20 system on it. Spoonie even reviewed a True 20 wrestling RPG. And I feel like Babylon 5, Star Trek, Star Wars, just you name it.
And so what that means is your character doesn't have HP, but he has what's called a toughness save. And so anytime he gets hit, the damage is set up as a DC, and then you roll your toughness save, and if you go over the DC, you get hit, but you don't take any damage. If you fail, you take damage in accordance by how hard you failed. In Blue Rose terms, If you fail by less than 5, you just get a scratch, and your toughness save goes down 1, and that's kind of how your HP goes down. If you fail by 5, you get dazed or wounded, which is a -2. If you fail by 10, you get staggered or disabled, depending on if this is lethal or non-lethal.
Yeah.
Which will pretty much put you out of the fight until someone heals you. And if you fail by 15 or more, that is the point at which you die. And as you can tell, since all of this is reliant on a roll, it is very possible to just have like the mage Hulk out and just take hits all day. Just so like it's equally possible for the tank to fight a giant rat and then get his throat ripped out in the first roll.
Yeah, that actually happened to you, didn't it?
That was so my first action as DM ever was I threw giant rats at my players because I thought they could handle it. And the tank, who is in like full plate with a tower shield, he has all this defense and constitution, so he's just like, yeah, I got this, whatever. I'm like, all right, well, the rat wins initiative, and he rolls, and he gets a crit. I'm like, oh no, he's got to confirm the crit. Oh no, he confirmed the crit. He's like, oh, don't worry, I still got the toughness. All right, it's your DC is 30. What's your toughness save? Plus 5. Then he rolls the toughness save, and he gets a 1. So he has 6. So he fails the save by 24.
And he dies.
And the rat rips his throat out.
Yeah, that's an extreme example, but combat is extremely deadly in this. Like, people dying horribly is the norm. Like, combat, you cannot structure an adventure the way you would a normal D&D encounter. You can't just have a cave full of rooms with like 1d4 kobolds. Like, combat
Though the warriors wish you would.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, if you try to play this like a D&D campaign, it's gonna go bad. Because this game, either everyone's gonna die horribly or they're just gonna wreck everything.
Yeah, and it's just this idea of not only combat being really deadly, but like the wounds and stuff staying with you for a long time.
Yeah, so how the healing works in this game actually is you have to make a save every 10 minutes if it's non-lethal damage, and every hour if it's lethal damage. So Cody took a lot of damage. He got up to disabled.
Yeah.
And so what happens is at the end of the fight, after I thought maybe an hour had passed, I'd have Cody roll a constitution check, and then he would get one little tick off, and he had like 7.
As a rogue, I dumped constitution, by the way.
Yeah, so 7 hit points means 7 hours. That's if Cody makes a 10 on all of his constitution rolls.
Oh. Thankfully, we had a healer right by us.
Yeah. And all the healer can do is let you roll more. Like, he can't actually heal you.
And thankfully, we also had little bennies, little resolution points.
Yeah, conviction. Yeah, so hero points are a big thing in this game because, again, you can use a hero point to escape death. You can use a hero point to instantly make any heal roll. You can use a hero point to succeed any roll, take 10, take 20, that kind of thing.
Now, does it work like in World of Darkness where you regain your resolution points by like doing like good actions and things like that? Yeah. I really liked it in World of Darkness, and you almost have to have it in a game as deadly as this.
Yes.
And it worked really well. I'm really on the fence philosophically about what I think about hero points. I kind of have this like constant fear that it's this gold star for the person who like
role plays the best.
Yeah. Oh, you did so good this time. Here's a gold star. Here's a get out of death free card.
I would definitely say that is definitely how it feels in D&D. In this game, it feels, like you said, a necessity because combat is not supposed to happen, I think, in this game very often. But when it does happen, kind of the conviction hero points let you kind of go with the fight a little more cinematically. And that's kind of what this system is all about. Again, much like Dragon Age, it's very much about making the players use their imagination. And
although, unlike Dragon Age, this is pretty damn tactical. This is still a 3rd edition game. There's still flanking. There's still surprise attacks. There's additional things like Bard songs, like almost everything else we're going to get to this later, is super streamlined, but it's still really effective. Like, I was using this one thing, this mastermind ability, where if I saw a fight coming and if I had a little bit of time, I could like roll and just get this big advantage for everyone else on the team. And there's all the same combat maneuvers and things like that, but they work a little bit smoother too. It's a really elegant system out of a frankly pretty bloated one.
Basically, they took all of like the best parts, I would say, of 3rd edition and just left all the miscellaneous bullshit. There's no CMB or CMD. Instead, most combat maneuvers go off your strength or dex, whichever is higher, versus your opponent's strength or dex, whichever is higher.
Which is so good.
That makes so much goddamn sense.
Whereas, Pathfinder, I still love it. It takes all that miscellaneous bullshit and it owns it. It does the best it can with it, taking nothing out and adding as much in as possible. It is this really awesome blender. But Blue Rose, I think I've seen a lot of 3rd edition game books, and this is definitely the most elegant.
In many ways.
Yeah.
Artistically and gameplay wise. But how character creation works in this game is, again, going with the streamlined idea, you go off of ability modifiers, not ability scores.
Yeah.
So when you make a character, unless you make a certain race, you get 6 points, and those points correspond to +1, +2, +3, +4, +5. Can't have anything higher than 5, much like how it works in D20. So instead of rolling 46, dropping the lowest, or with a 20-point buy, it's just like, all right, here are your ability modifiers, just pick them. Like say, I want a +3 in charisma. Okay, you have a +3 in charisma.
Yeah.
There is no like half in between. There's no 19 charisma. There is +3, +4.
Arguably even more simple are the classes.
Yes. So there's only 3. There's the warrior, there's the adept, and there's the expert.
Yeah.
The warrior hits things really goddamn hard.
The adept does spells.
The adept does magic, and the expert is
a rogue.
Just whatever the fuck you want him to be.
Yeah, and there's a lot of overlap between these. There's a lot of ways to finagle this to where you can have a magical warrior, to where you can have...
An adept fighter would totally work in this game.
Yeah. These are very much create your own classes.
And the creation reflects that very, very nicely, actually. So depending on your role, everyone picks their own class skills.
Yeah.
So basically, you get what are called favored skills and known skills. Your favored skills, and this is the part that kind of throws people off, so I'll try and explain it as best I can. Your known skills, that's your class skills, like in Pathfinder. So you're picking your own class skills. God damn it. Favored skills are your class skills. I did it again. I'm sorry. Your favored skills are your class skills. So you're picking the list of skills your class gives you instead of the class giving them to you automatically, which I think is fantastic. I hate... My biggest problem with Pathfinder is that you can't do that. I guess you could, but...
Well, I didn't have a problem with that until I started playing this game. I didn't know I wanted it until I realized it wasn't there.
I mean, for someone like me who plays a lot of skill monkeys, like, I saw that in Pathfinder. I was like, why can't my fighter have perception?
Yeah,
why does he have to be shit at perception?
I often was frustrated at, like, kind of the people who didn't have a lot of skills, and you just had these very small lists. Like, I definitely wish when playing the fighter that I could, like, pick around a little bit.
Yeah, that's a small tirade. Why doesn't a fighter get perception?
Why doesn't everybody get perception?
Yeah, why doesn't a fighter get sneak? These are all things a fighter could totally do.
Yeah.
As broad and generic as the fighter, but whatever.
Well, I suppose they wanted a multi-class, but multi-class is horrible in Pathfinder.
Fuck multi-classing. God.
It's just the wrong answer. It's been the wrong answer in every single edition of every game, but they keep letting you do it.
You know. But, yeah, basically your known skills are the skills you obviously know. You don't put ranks in skill. You just say, I know this skill. It's kind of like being proficient in the skill in Pathfinder, in 5th edition.
Yeah.
So 5th fifth edition, so Blue Rose, basically as you level up, all your skills get the same rank bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So every skill, if you know it and if you're favored in it, has the same bonus. And every skill that you know but don't have favored gets the same bonus, which is usually half the favored bonus.
Yeah, and so in doing this, it actually helps in role playing a lot because you're kind of tailoring what your guy is good at. You're kind of tailoring, what his background is, what his particular set of skills are. Like I made a rogue, but I did a lot of things. He didn't do much sleight of hand. That was a skill he knew, but wasn't a favored. He was more of like this traveling bard guy who just sort of like pretended to be like this sort of nobody until it was time to kick ass. Of course, that didn't really work in the game. In the game, I found it was a lot more fun to like flash my badge since I was an official agent of the Queen and be like, "Queen's business, motherfucker, back up."
Yeah,
that's pretty great too.
And that's the thing. Like the game, a lot of times, it just kind of assumes you're part of this. What's called the Sovereign's Finest, which are the Queen's policemen, basically. And a lot of the game is built around that, that you're playing these investigators and these civil servants. What I've noticed, what a lot of like modern fantasy novels do nowadays, where it's a little more about the person who kind of like the detective or the person just trying to make his way in the world while everyone else above him is just batshit insane. But and that's a lot of what Blue Rose does very, very well. And like you said, you can use a lot of those role-playing things. If you're in the Sovereign's Finest, you have a very particular set of exceptions you can do. You can flash the badge, you can do all that stuff. But to give you kind of another thing on the skill ranks. So like I said, you don't put ranks like you do in Pathfinder. Basically, if you were level 5, all of your known skills that are also favored have a +8. All of them. And all of your normal skills that you know but aren't favored have a +4.
Yeah, that's also pretty damn streamlined. And I gotta say, I like that a lot better too, because in Pathfinder...
That's basically what I do in Pathfinder anyway.
Yeah, except in Pathfinder, you get someone who's min-maxing and he gets like one skill that is so absurd, especially if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I think we were talking last night about like your Goblin Rogue.
Yeah.
Who I think was 15th level, but still, he
had a +50 to sneak.
He was invisible.
Yep.
No one can see that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of min-maxy, one note of caution is I said the warriors hit things really fucking hard. I'm not lying. Warriors, they fight things. It's what they do. It's all that they do. Yeah.
If you want to min-max, you be a fighter, man. Those guys are very good at it. You have a lot of options. Because the one thing it does share with Pathfinder over 3rd edition is that you get feats every level, right?
Yes. Actually, yes, because you don't get any class features.
Yeah.
The features are built into feats, like Rage and Sneak Attack are feats now.
Yeah.
And you just take them as feats every level, and that's how you can customize your class. And some feats are specific to those specific rules, like fighters can only take martial feats, experts can only take expert feats, adepts can only take adept feats. But everyone has a gigantic list of general feats they can pull from.
I think Sneak Attack is a general feat, too.
It's an expert.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah, Kais wanted to take it, along with Power Attack and Rage. Yeah. Get that. A raging Power Attack, Sneak Attack. Think about that for a second.
That's so Kais.
Yeah, no, that's an expert only feat. Yeah, like
I know that there were a lot of roguey stuff that were just general feats though, and that's cool.
Favorite enemy is general, yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's not. I got around it because
you're human.
My particular flavor of human
got
favorite enemy.
Yeah.
That was either heretics or Shadow Spawn.
Yes.
So I picked Shadow Spawn because they're kind of the generic enemy.
They are.
They're like Darkspawn and Dragon Age.
Shadow Fiend, the name actually.
Shadow Fiend.
Get it right, Cody.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, anyway. But yeah, those are kind of a quick rundown of the rules. Obviously, the expert, that's your skill monkey.
Yeah.
The adept does magic. Magic in this game, it works a lot like skills, actually. The best way I can describe it. You get ranks. So basically, you take a feat that lets you pick a feat called, blank talent, like animism talent. And if you take the feat animism talent, you can take any of the arcanums or spells under the animism tree. So if you take, but in order to do that, you again have to take a feat. So you get your spells by taking feats.
Mm.
You get additional skills to your known skill list by taking feats. You don't get them every level. You get favorite enemy by taking feats. You get class features by taking feats. This game is more feat dependent than Pathfinder.
Yeah.
But that's okay, I think, because it's all about the feats. And instead of making that really like a very feat economy driven game, which it very well could be if you have the certain players, but the way it felt here was it was just like, oh my God, I can build my own class.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. So yeah, just be aware feats every level and feats are everything. But that's okay.
Yeah. The feats, they work.
They do. And again, these are 3rd edition feats, so they're not quite as good as Pathfinder's.
No.
Like, cleave only works if you kill someone. So, But yeah, I'm looking down on it here. Like, going on a quick rundown of magic again. So, you take the talent, you take what's called arcane training if you're an adept, or like arcane talent, I think, if you're a non-adept. Like, anyone can use magic, but adepts are better at it. Like, adepts get kind of the favored skill rank in their arcanum ranks, and everyone else gets half. So that's another thing. The arcanum, there's a thing called... All right. So magic in this game is, again, very low-key. And it all kind of focuses on doing a lot more utility stuff. Like, you can basically do bending with all the elements from Avatar. And you can, like, psychically talk to people. At the same time, you can also, like, rip memories from a person's head. You can just, like, shoot them with psychic energy. The problem with doing these, like, more offensive magics is it's called sorcery. And sorcery leads to a big thing in this game called corruption. So corruption is evil invading the soul. And anyone can do it. It's just adepts are more likely to do it if they do sorcery. And so, like, evil is like a dark energy force in this game. And it can invade and corrupt a character. And so Trevor actually got corrupted last night because he was using sorcery because he didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So he was using sorcery, and every time you use a sorcery or every time you act in your shadow nature, so you have a light nature and a shadow nature, and these are role play kind of things. And so every time you do an action in role play that would align with your light nature, it's like grounds to get maybe a conviction point back. If it's, big enough. If you do something in accordance to your shadow nature, there's a chance that there will be like this pool of evil somewhere that will try and infect you because you're weakened. Your defenses are down. And so when you get corrupted, what happens is you start taking hits to your wisdom and constitution because you're just slowly going hollow, essentially. So for every point of corruption you have, you take that many points as wisdom and constitution damage. So if you have 3, you take a -3 to both of those. And that stacks up quick because, again, you don't go by scores, you go by modifiers. So you don't have a +3 con anymore, you have a 0 con if you have 3 points of corruption. And that's a big deal. This is basically just to reflect that your character is basically withering away and going insane.
It's all right.
Yeah. But if you want to go crazy, you can also embrace corruption, where you immediately become evil. You no longer suffer any constitution or wisdom penalties. The character you cannot benefit from cure unless it is from another corrupted source healer. So that's cool. And a corrupt adept changes any key abilities of all his arcana to his corruption score. This is either going to be totally awesome or the most min-maxy bullshit you've ever seen. Because think about it. Your corruption score, I think there's like 12 boxes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that character sheet, you get some guy who's just like, I cast sorcery, all the sorcery. It's like, all right, well, you have 12 points of corruption. What are you going to do? I'm going to embrace it. And then you become evil, but you have like a plus 12 on all of your arcana rolls. And you can use, the damaging arcana with impunity. So just fucking force missiles with a plus 12.
So I'm not sure. Does being corrupted, can people like see it? Can people sense it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. So a corrupt character cannot be raised from death. 3 nights after death, a corrupt character rises as a vampire. A corrupt sorcerer with a corruption score of 16 or greater becomes a lich instead.
That's cool.
Yeah. That sounds a lot easier than the redemption path, which is just like, instead of getting a conviction point, you get 1 point of corruption taken away.
So redemption is difficult, as it probably should be.
Yeah, it should be. But yeah, that's the consequences to being a chaotic evil jackass.
You become a lich.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to slowly waste away. You're like, oh. But yeah. So that's magic in a nutshell. Like I said, you can... Trevor did some pretty cool things with it. He had like a telekinesis thing.
Yeah.
An arcanum called Move Object. And the game actually, based on how heavy the object you're moving is, it'll give you like a DC to move the object. And then if you try to hit somebody with it, it gives you a bonus to your damage. So that was cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how shooting a fireball at somebody, that will, fuck with your immortal soul. But if you pick up a box with magic and beat the shit out of them with it...
Totally okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean...
magic didn't kill that guy, the box did. Come on.
Yeah, and I think it's really because the sorcery is directly influencing and designed to cause pain, not incapacitate.
Yeah.
You can make the argument that the cold shaping to do cold damage, that's because you're trying to get around DR or you're trying to incapacitate somebody. Mm-hmm. Throwing a box at someone in kind of a high adventure setting, that's, pressing the human consciousness button. Hitting their mind with an arcane bolt.
Yeah.
That is specifically designed to cause pain and anguish.
I can see that. Yeah.
All the sorcery is designed to either like dominate someone's will or cause them great pain.
It's the difference between a steak knife and a katana, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But that's a quick rundown of magic. It's very subdued, very simple. You're not going to be a D&D wizard with it, but you are going to be a pretty cool wizard. And this game does reward creativity. Mm-hmm. So, hey, start thinking, buddy, pal. But let's go with a quick rundown of combat. We've kind of touched on it before. So combat's very simple. Mm-hmm. Basically, you run up, you stab a fool, and you try to get past his defenses. If you get past his defense, you deal damage. And your damage is your damage bonus, which comes from your strength and your weapons damage bonus, plus 15. And that's the DC. The person you hit has to roll over with their toughness save in order to not take damage.
But defense is AC from D&D. That's pretty much exactly what it is.
Or your defesne.
Yeah, defesne. Our Our character sheets, they have a bit of a typo on it.
Yeah.
Defense is spelled wrong.
That's all the character sheets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Defesna.
Oh, that's pretty cute.
Yeah. But yeah. And then you just keep going like that until someone's dead. If you make the toughness save, you don't take any damage. If you fail the toughness save by less than 5, you take 1 point in either the bruised or hurt column, depending on if you're going on non-lethal or lethal damage. Mm-hmm. And that's a further -1 to all your toughness saves. So basically you're losing health. And then if you fail by 5, you take a additional hurt, bruise, but you also take an additional effect. Mm-hmm. And then if you fail by 10, it's the additional effect plus another additional effect. And if you fail by 15, you are unconscious or dead, whichever is being inflicted upon you. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I noticed in the game that even we were flying through turns.
Yeah, it was happening really quick. I have to admit, I was getting a little tired of just I attack him. But even then, it felt really frantic. It felt really, really important, even though I was fighting like 2 ghouls there, and I was getting my ass kicked. I spent half the time on the floor. It was really scary. It was really intense. And that's something I haven't felt in D&D for a little while.
Yeah, and even, with Kaisu, was like explaining all of his rage and power attacks. It was just like, all right, roll. We were still going through, blazing through turns.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you're going to make a character who's going to fight at all, go into the
warrior role.
Combat maneuvers.
Combat maneuvers, yeah.
Yeah,
because unlike Pathfinder, they matter. And they always matter, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, they matter in Pathfinder. If you're going to fight, of course, they stop mattering about, 10th level when you're fighting people who are, so much above you in CMD, and it's so much easier to just hit them with all the damage. But I would totally recommend doing combat maneuvers and cool stuff. It breaks monotony, and if you trip somebody, they are fucked.
Yeah, because they take a -4 to attack, you get a +4 to attack.
If you disarm somebody, they're fucked. I had one combat maneuver, and I tried it once and failed. Unfortunately, I just rolled a botch. It's pin with a ranged weapon. And I don't think this is in Pathfinder. If not,
I don't think so.
Be. I would totally, let this happen.
There is pin, but it's a grapple thing.
Yeah. To where
oh my god, grappling.
Tried to pin somebody with my arrow and just stick them to the wall. And you can disarm somebody with an arrow as well. That's a separate feat, but it's separate than just disarm. And it sounds really cool. I would totally make a ranged guy, although I kind of got boxed a little bit.
Yeah, so what happened was we were doing a murder investigation, and these guys had a suspect. And the warrior of the group, Kais, was just like, I'm going to stay and guard the suspect while you two investigate the murder house.
Makes sense.
And I'm just like, shit. Because I had a combat encounter planned in the scene of the murder, and the warrior is staying behind. And I was like, oh, this is going to go bad. So instead of 3 ghouls, I threw 2. And they still almost got their ass kicked. Because it was Trevor and Cody. And, Cody's a decent fighter, but he wasn't focused on it like Kais was. No. And Trevor did some very interesting things with his magic. Which eventually did save the day. He got both kills, basically.
Yeah. He kind of let me have the finishing blow on one just for some Mortal Kombat fun there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I pretty much took aggro while Trevor did the damage.
Throwing boxes at people.
And I hit that ghoul 6 times.
Yeah, but
he kept making his toughness save, so it's just poke.
And
poke.
yeah, again, that can happen. You can have an enemy who just keeps rolling 20 on the toughness save, and it's just well, he doesn't take any damage then. And you're like, God.
Yeah, Vincent was playing with some Lewis dice that night.
No one crit. One threatened to.
Yeah, one threatened to.
You should definitely confirm your crits in this game. Yeah,
in Pathfinder, never confirm crits. That's a stupid rule. Don't do it. Just it slows down the game. You don't want to do it. And this one definitely slow down the game a little bit to do this.
Yes.
It's
because basically what a crit does is it doubles the damage DC.
yeah.
So if you were using a, let's go ham. Let's say you're using a battle axe, which has a ×3 multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a damage score of +3.
And that's, if you're wielding the battle axe, you're probably going to have a strength of at least 3.
Yeah. So you hit somebody and your DC, your damage DC is 15 plus your strength will go with 3 plus the battle axe's damage will go with 3 plus let's say you have weapon specialization and a bard dance, that's +2. So +3 +3 +2 5 6 7 plus 15 22. But you rolled a crit and then you confirmed the crit. So that's 22 tripled. That's the DC they have to beat.
You're not going to make a 66 toughness.
Because here's the thing. Even at level 20, the highest possible toughness save you could have is if you were a warrior, you'd have a +20 toughness, and then you would add your constitution. Let's just say you went crazy and put all your points in constitution. I think that caps out at about a +9. That's a 29 toughness save, and you're trying to beat a 66.
Yeah.
Criticals are basically death blows.
Yeah, like Pathfinder, aggression is much more favored than defense on this, but I would say far more so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because how fucking deadly it is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, look,
I dig it, though.
yeah. That being said, having a high AC will help you a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, you're avoiding hits.
It is hard to hit people in this game compared to Pathfinder, even at level 5, which is when around the time a smart player is going to hit somebody like 85% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
This, we're hitting more like 1 out of 3 times.
Well, you guys were the warrior.
Okay.
The warrior never missed.
Yeah, Kais never missed because he was a wolf.
Yeah.
A wolf who was a fighter.
Yeah, so you can play animals in this game.
Yeah.
And there's psychic versions of these animals. And these are the races where you don't get 6 points. You get 4 points to spend on your boost. But that's because you get massive fucking stat bonuses to them.
Yeah.
I think the wolf got like, what does he get? Yeah, so these guys are called the Raidan. They get +1 strength, +2 dex, +2 con, and a 50 movement speed. So they move 20 feet faster than everyone else. They have a 3-point bonus to everyone else because they lose 2, but they're gaining 7 or 5 from their bonuses, and it's all in physical stuff. So if you just keep pumping up that physical stuff, they get a natural attack. They can't use weapons, and they can't use armor, and they can't accrue wealth,
and they can't open doors.
Yes, but that wasn't a problem because you had you guys.
Yeah.
That and he just ran into doors.
Just out of curiosity, what? How badass is the cat?
Oh yeah, there's a Rye cat.
Yeah.
+1 strength, +2 dex, +1 con.
Wait, so is this cat like a panther or Siamese? Because on the cover it looks like a Siamese cat.
It's like a small big cat, like a bobcat.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so you can be a Rye wolf, a Rye horse, a Rye cat, or a Rye dolphin.
Don't be a dolphin.
But the dolphin gets +3 dex, +1 con.
Yeah. Yeah. Below the water.
Yeah.
Above the water.
Just flopping on the ground.
Gives it his all. He might move 5 feet a turn.
That's what the game says. If you spend a full round action, you might move 5 feet.
And, you're like a dolphin. You're crushing to death on your own fatness.
And then a bandit just comes up and just puts you out of your misery.
Yeah, it's really doing me a favor at that point.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing an aqua campaign, don't be a fucking dolphin. Because everybody else is going to be on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be like, oh no, pirates aborted. If only I could get on the boat.
Oh. If you want to do an Echo the Dolphin campaign, though.
Yeah, if you want to be all dolphins, that'd be cool.
Yep.
Weird.
The Rye horse gets +2 strength, +2 con, +1 dex.
Yeah. Be a horse, man. Horses kick ass.
Yeah, so they all get these just gigantic stat bonuses. They all get favored feats. They all get favored skills. My God. Yeah, these guys get the best. Wolves get a free trip attempt with every attack.
Mm-hmm.
Rycats are very good at grabbing. They get pounced, basically.
And again...
So it's all the benefits of having an animal companion without the bullshit of dragging that ranger around.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to play an animal companion, but just didn't want to drag that druid or ranger around? Then have we got the race for you.
Yeah, and you can even still do animal companion with the Rye-bonded feat.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Oh, and you can even have a familiar as a feat, although even this is kind of build your own familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I notice you can like pick from like this list of like bonuses and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just have every wizard in the world picking the green scorpion just because he gets the +2 to initiative.
I know.
I totally picked the scorpion. Scorpion kicks ass.
Yeah. But yeah, so like for a massive stat bonus, pick the Raiden. And I think this is going to be, this is like kind of for the power gamer.
Yeah.
That being said, after thinking about it,
Human warriors kick ass too, though.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, human warriors can use weapons and
wear armor.
So they can have a higher AC, which a Raiden has very little chance of doing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're going to be kind of a glass cannon. That being said, though, looking at the weapon scores here, the Raiden, the wolf, has the best attack at a +2 damage with his bite.
Yeah.
You can pick up, that was the same as your rapier.
Yeah.
But you can pick up a great axe for a +5 damage.
Of course, you have to understand this is evened out by the strength bonus.
Not necessarily.
Oh?
Wolves only get +1. Want to know who else gets a +1? Night people.
Orcs.
The orcs. So, you play a night person, get an orc, you take a minus to, 2 of your, to your charisma and I think wisdom, but who gives a fuck, right? So you spend your 6 points on that, and then you go into warrior, and then you take weapon focus, weapon specialization, greater weapon specialization, which you can all do at first level. There's no level restrictions on that stuff.
Yeah.
And you just keep stacking up. You take rage, you take power attack, and all of a sudden your damage score is
an ass load.
3 points higher than what the Rye was able to do, and you can wear plate mail. So you have a much higher defense.
Okay, so in the long term, Ryan's may not be the best choice. Although they're still pretty fucking badass.
They are really badass.
Like that free trip attempt alone.
But yeah. So the Raiden are, goddamn, after looking at them, they're kind of Mary Sue's, aren't they?
And I'm not sure, but I imagine there's some way around the armor and weapon penalty.
Yes, it costs double. Someone would have to pay for it. Because you can't accrue wealth.
Yeah. But I was imagining if you could, like, do some kind of mage hand, and you could probably, a clever and or obsessive player could totally play a wolf with a greatsword.
Yeah.
Because bending is pretty prevalent here.
Yeah. Probably.
I would be inclined to not allow that.
Yeah. The thought crossed my mind of just kind of banning Raiden, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, no, that'd be stupid.
Raiden aren't that OP.
Yeah, like, it's very easy to be taken back by how powerful the warrior is in combat, especially compared to the expert and adept. Because, my God, the warrior is just lives up to his namesake.
Yeah, but you also have to understand that this game, it's meant to be structured a little bit differently than D&D. This is going to have a lot more mysteries. It's going to have a lot more skill checks.
And so basically, this game is very much defined, I guess, with the roles. So your warrior he's going to be a badass in combat. And if you're like me, I got kind of fed up 2 strikes in with the warrior. But I think if you're thinking in a Pathfinder mindset, like I think I kind of was, I'm just like, God damn, this guy's so powerful. Oh my God, he's try-harding so hard. And then I had to like stop and think about it. And I was like, that's really all he can do, though.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to think a little differently than Pathfinder. This has to be like, all right, combat's here. It's time for the fighter to do his thing and just wreck everything. And, the expert and the adept, they can help. But combat, you know what? The fighter, he doesn't do much because he gets 2+ int skills. So he's not going to have many skill checks unless he takes the feat for it, which he probably won't because he's focusing on combat. So you know what? During combat, it's going to be quick. If the warrior's around, it's going to be quicker.
And it's more like the warrior is kind of like the main star here. And as an expert, I was really doing some good support stuff.
Yeah, you were doing very good face stuff.
Yeah, and Trevor was also really holding his own there.
Yeah, when it came time for some magic-y shit to happen, that was when the adept showed up. And
even like uses magic in roleplay sense because he's the one authority on magic in this town. And like, don't use that torch; it's gonna blow you up. No, that torch will also blow you.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think you do have to kind of structure your campaigns to let these roles do their thing. Because if it's all combat, the warrior is going to take over. If it's all skill checks, the expert's going to take over. If it's all magic, the adept's going to take over. And you need to balance it between the 3. And I think that is going to be on the DM.
Which is frankly what you kind of ought to be doing with most D&D campaigns anyway. This just makes it a lot more obvious that this is what you need to be doing.
And, like I said, I was a little taken aback and fed up with the warrior, but just don't think of it in Pathfinder terms. Think of it as this is the warrior flexing his muscles. Because he was good because Kais was a wolf, and so he got the scent. So he did some tracking, but most of the talking was done by Cody. Most of the persuasion was done by Cody and Trevor. So and when it came time to fight, like I said, unfortunately, Kais was not around for one combat. But the second combat, he did his thing, and he did it very well.
Oh my God, yeah. He just ripped a dude's throat out, ripped another dude's throat out, got 2 rounds on this guy, ripped his throat out. Well, no, he tripped him, and I got the final blow on him. So that was nice. But it actually reminds me a bit of in Basic and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons.
This reminded me a lot of Basic, yeah.
In the fighter was supposed to be the guy who's best at fighting. In a lot of the old dungeons, like combat encounters were kind of something you want to try to and try to avoid. If you look in the monster manual, almost all of the monsters can be bribed in some way, or they can be placated in some way. And you guys, it's almost like a heist. You're like getting in there, you're getting your shit, and you're getting out. So in this one, like the thief, who is objectively shit in combat in Basic, and the cleric, who is not quite as good as a fighter in Basic. Like, they're all pretty important. Even the mage, a low-level mage who is really weak until, like, 5th level or so. You kind of, like, need this expertise. You need this this kind of strategy to get by. Like, whereas, in later editions, everybody's pretty good at combat, and they're balanced very well. In 4th edition particularly.
Yeah, they're focused 3rd edition onward are focused a lot more on combat. Even 5th edition, which takes a lot of aspects of AD&D, but at the end of the day, it's still a combat engine.
It's still a miniatures game with some cool role-playing in.
But this really feels like more of a retro-y type.
But it doesn't really forsake that tabletop thing. It's
like, if combat is the thing, it's
pretty solid.
Pretty solid here. It's not as simple as the age system. It's not as simple as as basic, or A even.
Mm-hmm.
Well, AD&D is where all that started coming in, right?
Yeah. Like AD&D, it got complicated. It started as a pretty elegant system, and then just for like 15 years, they just started adding splat book after splat book after splat book. It's, I would argue, way worse than the power creep in Pathfinder because they didn't even try to. They didn't try to balance it out. Like, there's no reason to be a rogue if you're a ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of old arguments, Jesus.
Still playing a rogue.
No, yeah, rogues, I think we argued pretty well in the Pathfinder episode. Or
Still my favorite class.
Yeah.
Fuck all y'all. Yeah, that's the Blue Rose system. I liked it a lot. I did.
Yeah, I think the answer is pretty obvious when we ask, was this something you would do a campaign in? And the answer is hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is a good system.
Yeah, like especially if you're feeling a little burnt out on Pathfinder and
but you don't want something
focused
too unfamiliar because this is something, if you play any kind of like D20 game like Pathfinder 3rd edition, it's gonna be very familiar. It's something you can jump right into.
And this is something, another mark for it is that you could say, you bring this system up and everyone's used to Pathfinder or 3rd edition. You're like, no, guys, this is like 3rd edition, but it's simpler. It only uses 1 dice.
Yeah.
And I think it's got enough of that familiarity that I think a lot of people who don't really want to learn a new system could maybe get this very quickly. Like, I didn't even explain that much to you guys, and you're just like, all right.
Well, yeah, we're all really fluent in Pathfinder.
But yeah, would we play a campaign with this? Yes. Would it replace Pathfinder? Honestly, in some groups, I could see this co-ruling with Pathfinder.
I would definitely give this a big maybe.
Yeah. I would definitely see like some people are just like, all right, we're going to play a campaign. What's the campaign setting? Oh, it's going to be like, all these dungeon crawls and this war and all this shit's going on. He's like, all right, cool. We'll use a Pathfinder or 5th edition. It's like, oh, cool. Well, okay, well, what's this one? Well, you guys are in a city and you guys have to find the spiring and break it up and do all this other shit. It's like, oh, cool. We should do that with Blue Rose. Because, all these ideas that would be kind of cool, like breaking up aspiring or breaking up like drug pushers and doing it like being detectives and everything. You can do that in Pathfinder, but it just wouldn't work that well, I think, because everything would eventually devolve into combat. Whereas in Blue Rose, it would work better in certain scenarios in Pathfinder. Certain like non-combat focused scenarios.
Yeah,
but scenarios where combat could still happen.
Yeah, but if you want to do like an old school dungeon crawl, if you want to do like Caverns of Chaos or something, don't do this game. No, this game, it'll just be like a big old depression simulator. You're gonna be like rolling through
stack of character sheets right there. Just one dice, pull another in.
I hope your character has a lot of little brothers.
Yeah,
you're gonna be going through them all.
Boom. But yeah. As far as additional sources, this game, it's got a source book, it's got an advanced player's guide, and it's got a narrator's guide. So it's pretty well supported. It also has a Kickstarter for a 2nd edition or a reboot.
Yeah, I think it's a 2nd edition, although I think it's also kind of a reboot too.
Yeah.
So really interesting about this reboot, though, is that it's using the Age system, which is the system
Dragon Age runs on,
which means it's going to be 3d6. And what we were talking about before the show is that doesn't seem like a big change. It's kind of freaking huge. Because 3d6, the numbers are a lot higher. You're going to get a lot more successes. Too. Whereas d20, it has a lot more swing. It averages about 10, but you can get anywhere from 1 to 20. Whereas 3d6, it averages 9, which is lower, but the minimum number you're going to get is 3. The maximum is 18. You're going to get a lot of 18s. You're going to get a lot of doubles. It's going to be a lot. I couldn't imagine this not being a lot faster, a lot more violent. Because when people are hitting more, People are going to die a lot faster.
And you compared this to the Song of Ice and Fire role-playing. Did something similar to this.
Yes, it's also a 3d6 system. It's also kind of has this persistent dying system. And what it does is, from what I understand, I haven't played it, I just read it, it makes combat absurdly deadly. Like
in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like in Game of Thrones. You're going to have horrible scars for the rest of your life. You're probably going to die. There's actually a lot of systems in the game for surrendering and just like giving up and passing out and like hoping that he just leaves you to die and that maybe you'll like not bleed to death. It's a very appropriately depressing game.
But yeah.
And you would kind of have to do something with that like that. You would either have to embrace how deadly it is or kind of take the cap off how deadly it is, which I really hope they don't do. And that's just my favorite thing about this game is just how horrifying the combat is.
Yeah, and it's not like Thieves' World or Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's not there to make combat deadly, or harder. It's there to kind of make you think twice about combat.
Yeah, because combat is not the main focus of this game.
Yes.
And so just picking fights with everybody might be a dumb idea.
Murder hoboing is a bad idea.
Yeah, murder hoboing will...
Unless you're all warriors.
It's going to be as bad as murder hoboing in real life. Even then, your days are numbered.
Yeah.
Like, it just takes one lucky kid with a crossbow to just end your days forever.
Through the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, Cody. I don't go on forum mods. Oh, by the way, that Kickstarter got funded in like 10 minutes, so don't bother.
Yeah.
It's coming, don't worry.
Its goal was $10,000. It's made $86,000, I believe.
Yeah, don't. We're not advertising for it. It's already done.
Like, they keep making stretch goals and people keep on breaking them.
There is another version of Blue Rose coming, and honestly, I'll probably look at it when it comes out.
I will definitely look at that. It's...
The show is still around.
Yeah. It's going to be out pretty soon.
Yeah. All right.
I think. I hope.
Anyway. But yeah, so I don't go on the forums much, Cody. But you do. So what do people say on forums?
Blue Rose, as far as I can tell, is almost universally liked. The people
I can see why.
Who didn't like it probably just didn't hate it enough to say much about it. Although, one thing I've noticed is everyone almost exclusively talks about the setting, which is really interesting. And they don't talk about the system as much as I think they ought to.
I can definitely see that because this is a generic system that Green Ronin uses for a lot of stuff. Yeah, but
they did a lot of cool things with it.
They did. And I think maybe if you were to look up like the True 20 system, which is what the name of the system is, like I've got a pocket guide for the generic version of this.
Yeah.
And I think you'd probably find a lot more talking about it that way.
Yeah.
Blue Rose, again, at the end, this is just kind of that system spread onto a very interesting setting.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing about the setting. We didn't get into it that much. This is where a few people are getting a little cynical about it because it is a very much a utopian setting. Like,
yes.
There is no two ways or ambiguity about it. The city of Aldis in the nation of Aldia, I believe that's what it's called.
Yes.
Is very much in the right. They are the city on the hill. They've got their things together. They're a medieval society, but they have very progressive values, even by today's standards. And the people who don't are kind of looked on with pity. And a lot of people don't kind of like that because I
can definitely see that in today's climate where a lot of stories are about fighting the power and corporate corruption.
I kind of like it though. Like, I'm just seeing something that isn't so overtly cynical. It's kind of a breath of fresh air.
And it's just a setting for a good high adventure.
Yeah, it's just a good place for high adventure. And, the evil group is like super evil. He's basically Skeletor. Almost exactly Skeletor, honestly. Yeah. He's up in Mount Evil. He's got his slave armies. He's got his vampire lieutenants. If I did a campaign where you met him, I would totally do him in the voice of Skeletor. Oh, you come from Aldia, you boobs. Yeah. So you have this very obvious good, this very obvious evil. Although there are other nations and they're really interesting, but they're kind of like, oh, they're not evil, but they would be better if they were more like Aldia. And I could totally get some frustration in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it gets a pass on this, one, because no one else is really doing optimism anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it's just very well written. I mean, they talk about like the geological and economic reasons of why people are the way they are, but it doesn't bog you down with it. Like just reading the source book is a joy to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of see why they would be this like goody two-shoes lawful good, accepting of everyone, because if you're not, you turn into a fucking lich.
Yeah, like I said, evil is a corrupting force in this world.
Like, being an asshole will damn your soul forever, and not just like in the next life, it'll do it like next fucking week.
It's so good.
Being a bad person is a bad idea here. Assholes don't finish first.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like if evil is an actual physical force of the universe that will hurt you, I could totally see the world being like that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are also people who are down on it because it has these very progressive ideas about a nation that's just sort of accepting of LGBT and like multi-partner couples and things like that. But you know, fuck those people.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 2016. It's
Get the fuck over it.
yeah.
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 Yeah. We usually do personal builds, but like this is basic, so.
Yeah, I think we explained our guys pretty well. My guy, I'll probably just better explain him in a role-playing sense, really. Trevor's was a sea people. These are, as you can imagine, they're a little bit amphibious. They're people that come from the sea. He's pretty chill. He's kind of, but he's sort of a twilight. There are 3 alignments, by the way. There's light, dark, and twilight. Good, evil, neutral, as you probably guessed. And he really likes magic, and he really wants to uncover like his full potential, but he's getting a little corrupted there. He's really enjoying hurting people. And, you know, he's doing it really well. My guy, bit of a fop. He's kind of this. I had him pegged as this ex-inquisitor. He was working for this neighboring country, Jarzon, which is kind of the Inquisition nation. Except even they're not Spanish Inquisition evil. They're pretty close to Soviet Russia evil, though. Like, they
disappear.
Have psychic priests walking around looking for thought criminals, and if you have one too many thought crimes, you go onto the work camps for like 5 or 10 years until you're clean. And my guy...
And the thing is, there's like a total justification for doing that.
Yeah, because if you're not clean... You're gonna destroy civilization.
Yeah, you're gonna turn like a gibbering, just lunatic.
And you know that they have this really cool real world view of all this, and it's like, oh yeah, it's nice seeing you guys like frolic and be nice to everybody, but you guys are pretty friendly with magic, and you're pretty free and loose with all this shit that's gonna, you know, turn, you know, the universe inside out and kill us all. So they just kind of politely keep at arm's length from all this. And so my guy, he used to be an inquisitor there, but he got falsely accused for something. There was one of those mind-controlling confessors. I figure they just sort of like took a bribe or something. And so he defected over to Aldous, and now he's on the secret police over there.
And that's another thing with the way a lot of this stuff is written, is it's all perfect.
Yeah.
But it's all one wrong move from blowing up. And that is a perfect grand campaign setting.
That is a very good point. Like, it's...
Like you said, Jarzon is this close to just wanting to fuck all this shit up.
Yeah. And all this, I mean, as good as they are, they're this close to turning into this hellspawn orgy because I was reading in the source book, they have these cults of people who worship Skeletor, and they have these like necklaces they're giving out that kind of makes you a thrall of him. And there's a lot of cults, there's a lot of danger. They're playing fast and loose with some pretty dangerous shit.
And even if you get the source book, The World of Aldia, it details the history of Aldia to like the Shadow War. So the Lich Skeletor was actually one of 5, and he was the weakest.
Yeah.
But in like the Dark Ages of this time, all the other Liches were taken down when basically Jesus Deer came down. That's what he is. He's Jesus Deer. He came down and he pegged someone as the king of Aldia, and then that king rose up against the Liches, and all the 4 other Liches were dethroned and all the other nations were formed except Kern, because the weakest Lich holed up in a mountain somewhere where no one could get to him.
Yeah, so he's kind of like Skeletor of North Korea. It's like he is safe because he's in this world no one can get to and nobody cares about.
Yeah, like everyone's just kind of like, they keep their eye on him, but they're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
We can kick his ass anytime we want, really.
Yeah.
It's just too much effort. But that's the great thing. The Shadow War, as it was called, the War with the Liches, it just tells you what happens. It doesn't give you the nitty-gritty details. So it's just like, yeah, this happens, this happens, this happens. Whatever happens in the margins, like how the Liches died, if they were killed by a scrappy band of 4 to 5 players, if they were overthrown that way, how all these politicizing events that led to the current political climate, how all that happened. It just shows you the end result. It doesn't tell you how it happened.
Which is amazing, especially when you compare it to my least favorite setting in anything ever, the Forgotten Realms, which is D&D's official setting. The reason I don't like the Forgotten Realms is because it's so stuffed. There is no mystery in its history. There is a
mystery in history.
There is a shitty novel about every aspect of it, and every thing that was ever done of any note was done by 4 to 6 high-level Mary Sue motherfuckers. Like, history, politics, agriculture, economics, they don't matter. Like, the whims of this universe is run by whichever assholes had rolled high stats when they were born. And there's no ambiguity in it. There's no leeway in history to like do cool things. There's no room in it. It's so fucking stuffed. Whereas like even if this is this like super goody two shoes world, as Vincil said, it's on this really cool powder keg, and there's a lot of gaps in history. There's a lot of people who see things from different perspectives, and you can play with that. You can mess with that. It's not so well defined. You can't define it.
And like that's gonna like for a long time I was planning a campaign in the Shadow Wars, which is where all this nice goody two shoe shit, none of it's there. It's like it goes full Game of Thrones. So it's just like, that's awesome. We're gonna do that, because I was like 17 and like really into hardcore gritty shit. I still might do it because I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Maybe not with my 17-year-old mindset.
No,
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Blue Rose. If you be so inclined to be interested.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention Kai's character. Well, we sort of mentioned Kai's character.
Right.
We mentioned mine and Trevor's, but Kais is a Rye-Wolf. Kais is a Rye-Wolf. He was a warrior. I believe... you can roll over your light abilities and dark abilities. It's a little bit like in World of Darkness, to where you have this like sin and you have this virtue, and you can kind of like go to both to get your resolution points, which are resolve. Sorry, they're hero points by like following the path of either one of these things. And Kais's was, I believe, reflection and nostalgia, and he was kind of like motivated by being the best around, and So he is this like really wistful bodybuilding wolf. That was pretty fun. And like we said, he uses to fucking terror in combat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all our characters with a little whole explanation about the setting thrown in the middle there.
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah, that's Blue Rose. If you are interested in buying this game, you can get it on DriveThruRPG for about $15.95 for the core rulebook. For the companion, which is the APG, you're going to be looking at about $12.95, $6.95 for the DM's guide, and for the World of Aldia, which I recommend. At the very least, you get the World of Aldia with the core RPG because it's got all those settings. It's got the explanations.
Yeah.
That's another $12. The physical copy of the book I found on Amazon for about $12.11. You can probably get it cheaper if you go to your local bookstore and you find it just hanging out. I think for all three of the books I have, which are The World of Aldia, The Blue Rose Companion, and The Blue Rose Core Book, I think I got the whole thing for like $12.
Nice.
That was actually the reason I bought this over Pathfinder. And then I eventually bought Pathfinder. So that's about the price point you're going to be looking for.
That's pretty fair considering.
Yeah, for everything you're getting. A very solid core rulebook, a fairly complicated one.
D&D kind of assumes that like $60 per rulebook is a fair price.
Yeah.
This is a goddamn steal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In a world where tabletop can become an expensive hobby, this is a little cheap alternative.
Yeah.
So, next week, I think we're going to talk about something a little different.
Oh.
It was a little campaign. It was a little RPG system I picked up a few months ago. I've been following it for a while, but it's got 3 different power levels to it.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, it's going to be Yoris Essence next time. See you guys later.
See ya.